Hello guys and gals, and welcome. So today we're going to be looking at a two-socket rune word that is actually usable in some higher level armors. And a lot of the times if you were to roll, for instance, a two-socket armor, and you were to, be hoping for a three or a four-socket armor, you might not necessarily think of this particular rune word, and you might think, oh, well, I've wasted my armor, my really nice armor, that I could have put something nice in. Well, this is an option. Now, this is the rune word Prudence. Prudence is a kind of expensive rune word with the rune word Mal in it. Mal does make this recipe level 49 requirement, so do keep that in mind. It's a fairly nice rune word, though, and can be used on mercenaries as well as players. And thanks to the all resistances, the faster hit recovery, and different modifiers that it has on it, it's actually not a bad armor to make if you have an extra Mal rune laying around. And that is kind of a loaded statement because Mal runes are relatively rare. And are useful in other rune words that may be more much mo better much mo better than this one. So keep that in mind before you spend your Malrune in it. But it could be very useful on a mercenary. It could be very useful on a player. It doesn't have any plus to skills, but let's take a look at it, shall we? So we have 25% faster hit recovery, which is definitely going to be nice to help keep your mercenary alive as well as yourself. It's going to help prevent those faster hit recovery stuns, which is important. We have 160% enhanced defense here, but it does vary between 140 to 170%. So do keep that in mind when you're looking at this armor, is that you will have a little bit of variance in the defense. But as you can see, in a non-ethereal, superior, Prudence, Archon plate, we have 1,362 defense, and if you put this in an ethereal two-socket armor, you're going to get even better defense out of it, which is nice. You're probably going to be looking at somewhere around, I think about 1,800, probably 1,600, 1,800, depending on how the defense rolls and depending on whether your armor is superior or not. We also have all resistances 30 on this armor, but it does vary between 25 to 35. Not a huge variance; it's only 10. But if you were to get the 25 on it, you might be a little bit sad. The 35, of course, is going to be much better. We also have damage reduced by 3, which is physical damage reduction of 3 flat points off of any physical damage attack that comes in. And that's all it does. So if 100 damage comes in, knocks 3 damage right off the top of that and turns it into, what is that, 17? Sorry, 97. So 97, 98, 99, 100. So yeah. So it's going to be 97 damage. If 3 damage comes in, if a monster comes up and bonks you on the head for 3 damage, it's going to turn it to 0, and they're going to do nothing. We also have magic damage reduced by 17, which works exactly the same way, but for magic damage. And that is very powerful because when you have an attack that is coming in that is very, very low damage, but very high frequency, like, for instance, lightning enchanted monsters, hydras, and various other things like frozen orb that have rather low damage, but not... but they come in and they hit you really hard and really fast. So, like, you're talking about, like say when you cast Frozen Orb, you notice it has all those individual spikes. Well, each one of those individual spikes might only do around 200 to 300 damage. And if you were to run that on a calculator, you would find that, say they did 200 damage minus 95% resistance. So if you were a really tanky character, so you got negative 95%, you're still taking 10 damage from that 200 damage no matter what. Well, the magic damage reduced by 17 will completely cancel out that last remaining 10 damage and will make it do 0. So magic damage reduced by can be very helpful to cancel out damage after your resistances have already done their job. It doesn't work very well by itself, and resistances, they don't work very well by themselves either. It's really nice to have both in tandem. If you have 75% resistance, for instance, and you go up against a gloam in hell, or a black soul, or one of the ghosts, and they shoot lightning at you, the lightning is going to rip right through your 75% resistance. If you have 95% resistance, believe it or not, it's still not enough to completely combat the gloams. But if you had 95% lightning resistance. You had magic damage reduced by, and you also had some lightning absorb, all stacked up on top of each other. You can stand there and laugh at the clones. And this is a whole way of building your character, and hardcore characters know this more than softcore characters. Softcore characters tend to be more risky in the way they build their characters, a little more carefree in their attitude toward, you know, damage reduction and things like that. But something like magic damage reduced by 7 can come in extremely handy if you're a hardcore character, if you build your character properly around it. It also comes in handy for energy shield sorceresses, because energy shield works very much the same way that resistances do. It absorbs the damage into mana, and it does not absorb all of it. So it actually takes only, I think it's 95% at max, just the same way the resistances are. So when you have that little extra damage coming in that's going to be going to your health pool, magic damage absorb, magic damage reduced by, things like that will help you survive. We also have +2 to mana after each kill, which is very, very nice. I like to have mana after each kill on any item that I put on. I don't specifically search for it, but if an item has mana after each kill on it, it is a very nice bonus, because anytime I kill a monster, it's going to fill my mana up 2 points, and it's very, very useful, especially for lower level characters. Like if you were to make this armor for a level 49 character, that +2 to mana after each kill would actually be quite helpful. We also have +1 to light radius, and repairs durability 1 in 4 seconds. Now, because it has the repairs durability 1 in 4 seconds, that means that you can actually create this in an ethereal armor. I did not create this in ethereal armor because it didn't have one with 2 sockets. There's not a lot of 2-socket recipes, and when I'm using my hero editor to create these items, a lot of the times I can't quite get the system to work properly. Like you would think that I could just create any item in the world that I would want, but half the time what happens is I create the item, I save the game, I load the game up to check and see if the item is maintaining those stats, and it doesn't. It just goes back to whatever it was before. So it kind of sucks. So with this particular armor, you probably want to make it in an ethereal base, and to figure out the defense on the ethereal armor, let's go ahead and work this out. So an Archon plate can have about 520 defense. It can have a little bit more than that, but let's just take a Archon plate with 520 defense. So we're going to do 520 plus the ethereal 50% bonus. All right, so that is going to equal an additional 260 defense, which is going to be a 780 defense Archon plate. Then we take the maximum roll for Prudence, which is 170%, and we add that to it. So plus 170% is 2,106. So so a rather high defense on this armor if you were to find the perfect 2-socket ethereal plate. Definitely a very defensive armor all around. I mean, if you think about it, we've got faster hit recovery, we've got a very nice enhanced defense, we've got all resistances, we've got damage reduced by, we've got magic damage reduced by, and we've got the repairs durability mod, which allows us to make this in an ethereal armor. So all in all, we're looking at just massive amounts of defense. It kind of reminds me of Sanctuary. So I don't know if you guys have taken a look at that other video when I looked at the Sanctuary Shield, but the Sanctuary Shield is also very similar. Lots and lots of defenses, you know, blocking, resistances, you know, just every kind of defensive mechanic that you could possibly squeeze onto an armor, but not much else. And there's really not a lot else on this armor besides defense. I mean, you've got actual defense, you've got faster hit recovery, which will help keep you alive by reducing those faster hit recovery stuns. You've got more defense because it repairs durability, so you can put it in an ethereal item. You've got all resistances, you've got magic damage reduced by, you've got physical damage reduced by, and then they throw in a little bit extra mana there on top of it with the +2 mana after each kill. So so a very nice armor for level 49 that you could make to really increase the defensive characteristics of your character. Maybe you are a sorceress, maybe you are a barbarian, maybe you're a paladin. Whatever character you happen to be, if you're in a situation where you feel like you're just not tanky enough, you're not able to get in there and fight properly, you don't have enough resistances, you don't have enough defense, whatever it happens to be, this armor can definitely come in handy for that, especially if you make it in the proper base, which I did not. Now, what you're really going to look for is you're going to look for an Ethereal, 2-socket, or rather, it doesn't have to be 2-socket, it just has to be not superior. Because remember that superior items can only be socketed at Larzik, and they will always get their maximum number of sockets. So you're looking for a 2-socket superior or a Ethereal no socket, or an Ethereal 2-socket, because if you have an Ethereal no socket that's not superior, you can roll it in the cube, and you can try and get 2 sockets. So keep in mind next time that you're taking an armor, say you find a really nice 520 defense Archon plate, and you put it in the cube, and you roll it for sockets, and you're hoping for 3, but you end up with 2, keep this rune word in mind, that you can make a Prudence in that armor, and it can be useful to some of your characters while they're leveling up. You could also use it for a Mercenary if you'd like to. The all resistances, the fast hit recovery, and the massive amount of defense will certainly help out your Merc. And the magic damage reduced by 17 will actually help your Mercenary survive things like Hydras. And if you guys have noticed, but Hydras tend to be one of the more murderous creatures when it comes to Mercenaries. And there's many factors behind that, but something like magic damage reduced by 17 can come in very handy versus Hydras. If we take a look really quickly at Hydras, we'll find that a Hydra only does about like 159 to 185 damage, right? So if we run this on a calculator real quick, and I love whipping out the calculator. I'm a big old nerd. So let's take an average of 170. So 170 minus 75% resistances is 42.5 damage per bolt. Well, Hydras fire a massive number of bolts, and you can have a massive number of Hydras on the field depending on where you are. So for instance, if you're in the council, fighting the council, there's what, 6 council members, and each one of them can do like 3 Hydras a piece or 4 Hydras a piece or something like that. So you're talking about 4 times 6, which is what is that, 24. So let's do 24 times 42.5. So you're looking at like 1,000 damage, like per rotation, right? But here's the thing: 42.5 minus 17 from the armor, that's the magic damage reduced by, is going to bring that down to 25.5. So instead of taking 42.5, he's going to be taking 25.5 times the same 24, which is only going to be 612 instead of 1,000. And you can see how it makes a big difference to have a little bit of magic absorption, a little bit of magic damage reduced by, and various effects like that on your Mercenary. Because when their resistances cut that damage down and it's still not enough, the magic damage reduced by and the absorption and things like that can come into play and really cap that off. And I'm sure I've talked way too long here, but anyway, Prudence. Is it a good armor? I think so. Is it an endgame armor? Probably not. But it is still something that you could take a look at for your characters as you level them up. Anyway, thanks for watching, and keep watching.